Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Quotes and Quantities webinar. My name is Nick, and I will be doing the presentation with you today. Just like all of our previous webinars, everybody will be on mute. So if you do happen to have any questions at any point during our class, you can go ahead and type that into the questions area. And at the end of the class, I'll go through and I will answer any questions that may have come up. At the end of the class, I will be sending out an email that will contain a document that's going to cover everything that we're going to talk about in today's class. If you happen to have any questions while going over that document, you can contact our support department, and you can reach them from Monday to Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you can do that by either phone or email. Again, today's class is on quotes and quantities, and my name is Nick. I'm just going to go over a quick overview of what we're going to cover in today's class. So every element in Envisioneer will have quantitative information in its properties, such as the price, the supplier, part number, and the units. This information is going to be used when a project estimate or quote is generated. In today's class, we're going to learn how to define the quantity information for these elements. We're also going to look at how to select and edit a report template, generate an estimate, and then generate a quote using Quote Generator. So let's get started. So first thing we're going to be looking at is specifying quantity information for elements. So before starting a model, it is a good idea or good practice to open your catalog and specify the quantity information for elements that you intend to use in your design. You can change the information such as the price, the supplier, the part numbers, and any units for pricing. The more fields that you fill out on an element's quantity properties page, the more information you will see reported in your estimates and quotes. You can provide even more detail by specifying assemblies for each element and specifying formulas for quantifying those assemblies. Assemblies are going to be parts that are linked to an element, but are not actually visible in the drawing. So things like hinges on your doors or into the inside of a wall where you're looking at the vapor barrier or the tape around your vapor barrier, those are the types of things that would be a part of an assembly. When you specify quantity information for elements in the catalog, that information is permanently saved in the catalog. So you will only have to perform this task once. Specifying pricing and other data in the program. So any element's quantity property page contains various fields that you can fill out to define the element's quantity information in detail. To do this, we're going to go up and we're going to select File, Catalogs, and then we're just going to select the Element Manager option. Alternatively, if you like, you can right-click in the catalog on the right-hand side of the page, and you can select Element Manager from that list. This will just take a second to open up, and then once it's open, we will be looking at the catalog of Envisioneer in the Element Manager. Again, this should just take just another second here to load. Seems to be a little slow today. If you do find that the catalog is taking a bit of time to load, it may be the size of the catalog. I do know I have added in some more elements into my catalog, so it is going to be a bit larger than the shipping catalog. So it might take a little bit longer if you have made some edits to your catalog. But once it loads, it should look like this, and you're going to see the Element Manager. Now, in the Element Manager dialog box, we're going to go over and we're going to open up the Doors folder on the left-hand side. So this contains basically everything that is in the catalog. So everything that you can draw with is going to be included in here. So we're going to scroll all the way up, and we're just going to select the doors. We're going to click on the little plus sign beside doors. We're then going to go into the interior doors folder. And in the interior doors subfolder, we're then going to select the first door in that folder, which is going to be the 18-inch hinged door 6-panel. Once we have that door selected, we can see that the properties of the door are going to be displayed on the right-hand side. So here we're seeing all of the properties for that specific door. You can see the preview down in the lower left corner, but again, all the properties are going to be here. We're going to ignore all of this for right now. We're just going to go right to the quantity tab, and we're going to click on that. Once you click on the quantity tab, it's going to reveal the quantity information for that door. In this quantity area, we're going to be able to see a group of different options that are available to us. So when I started this presentation, I talked about remembering that the more that fields that you fill out here, the more information you will be able to see in your reported estimates and quotes. Even the name at the very top of the dialog is important, as this is the name that will appear in the quantity report list. Therefore, you should make sure that it is as specific as possible. Instead of just a generic 28-inch hinge door, you may want to specify a more detailed name, such as 18-inch by 80-inch wood white 6-panel slab door, or whatever description you want to apply to that specific door. Or even incorporate the manufacturer's name and part number into the naming convention. Underneath that, you're going to see manufacturer. Now, this is an option for you where you can actually go in and you can specify who the manufacturer of the product is. You can click the Browse button beside None Selected, and it'll give you a list of all the manufacturers that are already added to the catalog in Envisioneer. If a manufacturer that you want to take advantage of and use is not in this list, you can add your own by simply right-clicking and saying Add Manufacturer. Once you select Add Manufacturer, you can go through and actually add in the address, the city, all of the information for that specific manufacturer, as well as any logos that you want to assign to it. We're just going to click Cancel on that. And I'm going to click Cancel again. Next is the supplier. Now, this is going to be the company or the store who will be supplying the product that you're looking to use. This is a typing field, so you would actually just type in the supplier that you would be using for your parts. Next is the price, and this is the unit price of the product. Again, by default, you will see that all of my prices are set to 0, and in your catalog, all of your prices in the default catalog would have been set to 0 as well. We ship the program worldwide, so we don't add in any prices because prices changed per region. So we just send it out with the 0 pricing, and we allow you to make adjustments as you feel they need to be made. And we'll touch on price a little bit later as well in this class today. Next is the phase. So materials are often shipped to building sites in phases, such as the site work, foundation, or framing phase. The selection here indicates the phase this particular element is associated with. You can again click the Browse button to open up all the different phases that we send out in the catalog. Again, these are the defaults. You can add to this list if you wanted to refine a phase. For your project procedures, you can add in your own phases. So this particular phase is a door. So that the phase that it's going to be set up with is going to be the interior doors and trim phase, because that's when it would all be delivered to the site. I'm just going to click Cancel on that. The next option we're going to see is category. Now, elements can be grouped into categories according to their type, such as sheathing or pre-cut lumber. You can again click the Browse button next to the category to again change the category that you want that specific element to be assigned to. Again, we're working with a door, so this one is going to be set to the doors category. And again, you can add to this list if you so need to. Underneath category, you're going to see a division option. Now, a construction division, this is a construction division identification. And in North America, we use the CSI divisions. You can again add to this and adjust it to meet your standards of where you are if you want to take advantage of that. Next is part number, and this is probably one of the more important ones. The part number or SKU number of the element that you're working with. This can be a series of numbers or letters that identifies the product itself. So if you're matching up with an actual product from a manufacturer, you're going to want to make sure that it has the correct part number assigned to it. Again, if you're also using this to link up with a outside application or a point of sale system, you're going to want to make sure that this is again matching up with the point of sale system's part numbers. So that way it's grabbing the correct pricing and matching it up correctly. Underneath that, we have the alt code. The alt code is the alternate code. And it's just an extra identification code that can be a formula that ties the phase and the usage together for increased organization within a list. And it's going to use the if, and, or statements. So you can actually go through and specify exactly how you want certain things to be organized. And in here, you can see that we're basically saying if or the phase equals a floor system, or the phase equals a wall framing, or the phase equals ceiling constructions, we're going to define the location number plus the phase ID plus the location, and then we're also going to include the phase. So it's going to group all of this together based on what the element is. Just going to click cancel on that. And next we have usage. The usage is an element usage can help make it more clear what the element is to be used for. For example, one particular member could be used for basement beams, while another might be used for studs. We're using a door, so it's pretty generic and common. What we're going to be using here is going to be set to door. But like I mentioned, if you're using a member like a 2x10, you could have a 2x10 or 2x12 that is going to be a part of a beam system, and you would want to make sure that it is set to be girder beam in your usages. So that way in your reports, when you see a 2x12, it could be a floor joist or it could be a girder beam. So having a usage defined is extra sorting for the element that you're using. Then we have units of measure. Now, the unit of measure is going to be associated with the element. So examples of units are going to be each or roll, bundle, can, gallon, box, depending on if you're sorting it by an item. You can also have a unit of measure based on area, length, volume as well. And you can again define which is going to be the best option for the element that you're working with. I'm just going to click cancel on that because I don't want to make any changes. Most elements in the catalog will have a mark option, so you can actually go in and apply a mark to the element itself. If you add something in here, it will include that mark in the drawing. So right now we're adding in a door, so we're going to see that mark of 16, so 1'6" by 6'8", which is basically just telling us the size of the door itself. You can have that set as a typing field. You can also set it to be off or auto, and it will use or custom, and you can adjust again however you want that to be defined. Underneath that, we have the include in quantities. Now, this checkbox is going to be enabled for our doors. You would disable this option in a remodel project if the object represented an existing element that you did not want to quantify. So right now, what we're saying is, if I insert this door with that checkbox selected, it is going to include that element in the quantities. Under that, we have replace with assemblies. Now, the replace with assemblies enables the assembly elements to quantify, but the main element will not be checked. but the main element will not if it is checked. So in this case, we don't want to apply this option with the replace with assemblies because we want the door to show up in our reports, but we also want all of the assemblies to show up. So you may be asking, well, when would this be actually used in a real world case? Well, if you scroll down to walls as an example, and I select a 2x4 vinyl siding wall as an example, I can't physically go out to a lumber yard or to a hardware store and buy a 2x4 vinyl siding wall. I need to buy the parts that make up that wall. So all of my assemblies here are what make up that wall. So here I would have replaced with assemblies checked. I don't want to see the 2x4 wall in my quantity reports. I want to see all of the elements that make up that wall. So again, depending on what it is you're working with, you have the ability to replace it with just the assemblies, or in the case of our doors, we go back to that 18-inch hinge door, we would have the door quantify in the reports as well as the assemblies. And again, if you're doing a remodel project, you would uncheck this if that door is an existing door that you're not going to be touching or replacing, but you want to show it in your file. You can actually create an element in the catalog and call it existing, and then it would never report in your quantities. So now we're going to be looking at specifying assemblies. So on the right side of the quantity page, you will see an assemblies area. Assemblies are parts or materials that are associated with an element, but are not actually drawn in the model. For example, on our doors, doors can have hardware assemblies such as a hinge set and a door lock associated with them. Walls can have assemblies that include your drywall sheets, your screws, and your paint. Assemblies are included for each element in the project estimate, provided an assembly option is selected on the element's quantity property page. So with the door still selected in our element manager, we're going to select the interior door lock set. When I click on that, I'm going to have the add, edit, and remove options available to me. I'm just going to click on the edit option. And when I click on the edit option, it will bring up the assembly dialog. Now, in this assembly dialog, we can go through and we can see that there are other options available to me to use for this specific element. So we're working with a door, so the assemblies that are associated with a door are going to show up. So if I was working with a bifold door or a double door, I can use different options for the specific types of door. If I simply double click on the interior door lock set, it will bring up the edit assembly dialog. And in this edit assembly dialog, we can see the actual parts that make up this assembly. So right now I have my cursor selected on the interior door hinge set. And when I hover over that, I can actually select the browse option, which will allow me to again bring up the catalog access, and I can add or edit or replace anything in here to use a different option for that door. We're going to keep our set to the actual interior door hinge set. Over here on the right-hand side, we also have a add button or remove option. These buttons will allow us to add in additional assemblies or remove assemblies that are already a part of the initial assembly. We also have the calculated quantity area. Now, the calculated quantity column displays how the parts can be quantified. It can be by a piece count, by their linear length, by their area, their volume, or by creating a formula depending on the type of part and how it is used and how it is purchased. In this case, for every door that we add in, we are going to add in an interior door lock set. So we're just going to add in one interior door lock set per door. Same with our interior lock set. our hinge set and our lock set are both going to be set as just a count. If we were doing this by individual hinges and it was a 2-hinge door or a 3-hinge door, and you wanted to quantify it that way, instead of buying it as a set, you were buying them individually, then you would need to do count. And then depending on the style of door, if it's a 2-hinge or 3-hinge, you would go times using the multiply button, and then 2 or 3, again, depending on the hinge counts that you need. And that's how you can modify the actual calculated quantities. In the edit assembly dialog box, we're going to make sure that we're going to click cancel on here because we're all good with everything in here. We're going to say, okay, I'm actually just going to click cancel on that. And then in the edit assembly dialog box, we're just going to make sure that the replace element with assemblies checkbox is disabled because again, we don't want to replace the door with just the assemblies. We're then going to simply select OK to that, and we've now added in and we've looked at our actual door with the adjusted assemblies. Now we're going to be looking at specifying formulas. So formulas are the key to quantifying materials accurately in your estimates and quotes. Formulas can be very simple or very complex depending on the material you're quantifying and how you want to quantify it. The Specify Formula dialog contains a complete selection of formula components that you can use to build virtually any formula. So we're going to take advantage of this and we're going to look at that in an actual practice here. So let's say you want to add a fence to your design and you want to report the number of rails, posts, and boards that will be used. To achieve this, you would need to create a formula for each of these assembly items that includes the variables for the spacing of the posts, the overall length of the fence, and a rounding factor in case the overall length includes a decimal portion. So again, in our element manager dialog, we're going to go up and we're going to select fences. So I'm going to scroll down to fences and I'm just going to open up the fence option. Under privacy fences, I'm going to select the 4-foot standard fence. And I'm going to select I'll select the 4-foot one for now. And in the element manager, under the quantity, we're going to be able to see that we have the different assemblies assigned for us already. Now, in the properties panel on the right, we're going to select the quantity tab. And this fence has 3 assemblies assigned to it. We can see that we have the 1x6 fence board, we have the actual fence length, and we also have the actual fence posts. So again, we have the posts, the fence boards, and we have the actual rails. So let's see how the fence rail will be quantified. We're going to click on the browse button, and we're going to click on the actual assembly here. We're just going to click on edit, and this is going to edit that assembly for our specific fence. And we're going to select this option, and we're going to double click on it to bring up the edit assembly. In the edit assembly dialog, we're going to click on the calculated quantity field beside the 2x4 treated. And in here, we are going to make some adjustments here. So we're going to click on the browse button that appears in the calculated quantity field. The specified formula is going to be displayed. And it displays the following formula for the fence rail. It is showing length divided by 8 in brackets times 3. This basically breaks down to we are dividing the length of we're dividing by 8. So this is going to be the spacing of the post is going to be 8 feet, and we will be purchasing 8-foot rails. So we divide the overall length by 8 feet. we're then going to be multiplying it by 3. So we want 3 rails to be calculated for each 8-foot section of fence. So we multiply the entire equation by 3. Next, let's expand this formula to include a rounding factor to account for a fence length that includes a decimal. We can only purchase whole lengths of lumber, so we can't purchase partial ones. So we're going to use the trunk function to do this. Now the trunk function will cut off any decimals in the overall length, i.e., or an example is rounding down. So we're going to place our cursor to the left of the formula, and I'm just going to left click once. This will bring my cursor all the way to the far left of the equation, and I should see a flashing line right in front of the first open bracket. I'm then just going to click on the trunk function right here in the dialog, and I'm just going to click trunk. This will add in the trunk operation for us, and it also includes another open bracket. We need to put what we are truncating between 2 brackets. So with your cursor, we're going to click just after the 8, and we're going to add in another bracket. We're going to use the close bracket. So again, you can use the operations field over here to add in a close bracket. A good rule of thumb here is for however many open brackets you have, you should have the same number of closed brackets. If you don't, you're going to have problems with your formula. So again, make sure you're counting how many open brackets you have, and you should again have the same number of closed brackets. So right now our formula should look like trunk, bracket, length divided by 8, closed bracket times 3. Because the overall length will be truncated or rounded down, we need to account for the portion that was truncated. So we're going to place our cursor to the left of the second last bracket, and we're going to type in +1. So it's going to go right in the middle of these 2 brackets, like so. And then with my operation field here, I'm just going to go +1. So now our formula should look like, again, trunk, and we're going to have open bracket, length divided by 8, closed bracket +1, closed bracket times 3. Next, we need to add brackets around the entire equation. You can add these by double-clicking the bracket symbols in the operators list, or you can type them in directly. And again, we want to make sure that that is all within a bracket system. So we're going to go again, and we're just going to go open bracket, and then we're going to close bracket after the +1, and we're just going to go close bracket. So again, just testing to make sure I have enough brackets. So I have 3 open and 3 closed. So that should be good. Now we're going to test our new formula. We're going to use a fence length of 20 feet. So according to our formula, this should give us 9 total rails. 6 rails for the 2-foot full 8-foot sections, plus 3 more rails for the remaining 4-foot section. So in the test formula pane of the specify formula dialog box, we're going to double click in the length. So we're going to go up here, we're going to click test. We're going to come down here, we're going to select length, and we're just going to click in here, and we're going to type in 20. Once we hit 20, the results, once we've clicked out of there, should then show us the result at the end of the equation. And so here we can see that we are seeing the number 9. So we know that this formula is working. And this is a formula that you're going to be using more often than not. You can actually close this down, and you can actually save that formula and give it an actual name. So you can go up to formulas and you can say, I want to call this fence rail and or fence rail times 3, whatever you want to name it. You would give it that specific name, and then you can apply it to all of your other fences by just simply loading it by selecting the load option. We're just going to close this down because I don't want to make any changes to my actual catalog here. So I'm just going to get out of that edit assembly. And then finally, we're going to close down the element manager. So we're just going to say OK to that. And we're just going to close the element manager down. Next, we're going to be looking at generating a project estimate. So once you have defined the quantity information for elements in your catalog and you have created a model, you can generate a project estimate with the click of a button. So I'm going to go up and I'm just going to drop in a couple of walls here. So I'm just going to go cement board siding. And I'm just going to drop in some walls in here. So I'm not going to make anything fancy. We're just going to drop in some walls. And I'll throw in a door. We'll do an entry door, single door, and we'll just drop this guy in. Like so. And I'll throw in a couple windows as well. And we'll just do window. And we'll do just a couple windows in here, just to again have something in our reports. And we'll say finish. Now all we have to do is go up to Tools, Analyze, and we can select the Generate Project Estimate option. This will bring up the Generate Project Estimate dialog box for us, and we can see the quantities of each element in our design. So we can see again, everything is being quantified for us based on those, everything that's been added in. You'll notice fields such as division, price, and unit, the same fields that we filled out on the quantity property page, are all going to be visible here. The Generate Project Estimate dialog box also contains a cut list tab. The cut list quantifies your deck members, excluding your deck boards, as well as any members that you have inserted with the members tool, and reports both the actual and the purchased lengths. I'm going to go back to the quantity report, and we're now going to be looking at report templates. So the layout and the content of the estimate are going to be determined by the actual report form that you're using. So you can use the drop-down list here, and you can see that we have a standard report form. And this is probably the one that you're seeing if you are following along. Now, again, this is, again, by default, is going to use that standard report form. The list you see here includes templates that are designed to work with many popular spreadsheets and estimating programs. So you can see that we have Apex Lumber, we have Builder Trend in here, Constellation. There's a bunch of different options within that list. And you can, again, simply select it and choose whichever option you want to use. But you are not limited to the templates that ship with Envisioneer. You can edit any template or create new templates from scratch using the tools in the Generate Project Estimate dialog. And I'm just going to grab this blank one that I used to mess around with. And we're going to go in and we're just going to simply select the edit option. If you wanted to create your own, you can select new template and you can basically just add a new template in. You can copy an existing template and give it a new name, or you can edit the template that you are currently working on. And we're going to select the edit template option here. And this is again going to bring up the specify report template dialog box. Now, the general page here is where you can specify your basic information, such as the template name, the report file extension, and how you want to sort the information in the report. And you can also prevent specific elements from appearing in the estimate by disabling them in the element filter on the right-hand side. So you can turn things off if you don't want them to show up in your actual reports. So if you're looking for a report that's only going to quantify lumber or trim or doors or windows, then you would turn everything off except for those elements. The optimization settings page, so we're going to click on that cut list optimization. This contains settings that pertain specifically to the cut list. So the settings on a template's records page determine how the report headers, and that's going to be, sorry, that's on the records page. So we're looking at the cut list optimization. So again, this is going to be information that contains to the actual cut list. So how do you want that to be quantified? Here we're saying we want to cut down our long members and we want to cut one piece from each purchase length. We can also say that we want to calculate just the total linear length only, or we can group similar items together. We can also apply our tolerances and our saw cut allowances and how much scrap we want to actually allow. So you can again fine tune exactly how you want the cut list to optimize the lumber that's being used in your reports. The records tab, this is the area where you can determine how the report headers, footers, and elements entries appear in a project estimate. So here you can see, if I just pull this down a little bit, we can see division, description, quantity, unit, price, cost, usage, and phase. That is what we're seeing here. So all of this is being determined by what we have in here. So on the headers option, we can see that we have a main header, which is showing us the quantity report, which is the project estimate, and then the drawing name, which is going to be whatever the project name is. Then we have a sorting level, and we have our location sort value, and that's saying ground floor. So whatever location we're working on, it's going to use that. Then we have a spacer, so we have a space between our ground floor and our main titles. And then we have the division, description, quantity, unit, price. Again, all of those will be added in. You can further refine or add additional sorting if you want to, but those are the main ones by default. I'm just going to click cancel on next. I don't want to make any changes to my report. So we're going to say cancel, and we're just going to exit out of there. Next, we're going to be looking at generating a quote. So a quote is a list of products with quantities, pricing, and other important information. Quotes are used by building material supply retailers, wholesalers, distributors, and contractors to facilitate the design, sale, and installation of the construction projects. You can use the Generate Quote tool to instantly generate a quote that opens in Quote Generator. This is a separate software application that opens in an independent window. In Quote Generator, you can manipulate the data to suit your needs, generate a variety of reports, and export the quote to a point of sale system or an accounting program. Just a quick note here that the Quote Generator tool is only available in the Envisioneer Construction Suite package. So if you're trying to follow along and you're not seeing Quote Generator, you may not be using Construction Suites. To do this, we're going to go up and we're going to select Tools, Analyze, and you will see Quote Generator, or Generate Quotes. Again, if you're not seeing that, then you're not using Construction Suite. And you'll know because you'll see the word Construction Suite in the title. So again, we're going to go up to Analyze and Generate Quote. Once you selected Generate Quote, you may get an option if you've used the quote generator before. It will let you know that, do you want to load a quote from a previous project or do you want to load it from Envisioneer itself? And I want to actually just use it from Envisioneer. So I'm going to say yes, load the quote from Envisioneer because it is using the elements that I've drawn in Envisioneer. The next dialog you will see is warning you that you're giving things away for free. So it's basically saying that there are products that have a zero price assigned to them. Again, by default, we ship with the zeros and we allow you to make those adjustments as needed. If you are using Quote Generator to do this and you're going to be using it to link up with a point of sale system, then leave your pricing at 0 in Envisioneer. The point of sale system will fill in the pricing for you based on the part numbers or the SKU numbers. If you're using Envisioneer for your pricing and you see this message, then it's letting you know that, again, you're giving something away for free, so you will want to make sure you're making an adjustment to that. We're going to say OK, and we're going to see the quote generator load in all of the elements that I have added into Envisioneer. So I'm going to see absolutely everything. I'm going to see all of the members, all of the doors, all of the windows are going to be quantified for me for that project. I'm again going to see a big red column here that's letting you know, again, you're giving things away for free. So you'll know very quickly that, yes, there's something in there that is set up to be a zero price. As you can see, the quote is displayed in a grid, which is like a spreadsheet. The grid consists of columns and rows, and each row in the grid contains a record. On the left side of the grid, the arrow in the record selector column indicates which record is current. So you can see here that I have the arrow and it's just on the name Envisioneer. If I move the arrow, it highlights it in yellow, kind of like a highlighter effect, and it lets you know that that is the currently selected record. When you select a record in the record selector column, the row again is highlighted with that yellow color. And you can select more than one record at a time, making it possible to make the same change to multiple records simultaneously. You can add, edit, and delete records in the grid. If you right-click in the grid, a menu will pop up, allowing you to edit any one of these. These tools allow you to make modifications to the records in the current quote. So I can add comments, I can add stock product, I can substitute the product out if I want to change it to be using something else. I can use any one of these options to, again, fine-tune my reports. I just want to take a moment to talk about the product database. So Quote Generator ships with an empty database that is ready to be populated with your products. If you use a spreadsheet or an accounting package for your inventory control, and that program can export your product data to a CSV file, you can import that data into the QG database via the CSV file, provided the file has a particular structure. To import a database, you would select Tools, Data, and you would select the Import Cadsoft Catalog. Once you have populated the QG database with your products, you can substitute your stock items for products in the quote via the SKU numbers. This is called mapping. When you map a record to an item in the database, the record cells update automatically with the values set for that item in the database. You can also add new records to your quote that contain stock items. Quote Generator also has quote modes. So there are a couple of different quote modes in the Quote Generator, and each displays a unique information. So when you first generate a quote, the quote is displayed in the product details mode. So here we can see that we're in mode 1, and we can see the actual quote. I'm just trying to get rid of this box here for a second here, so just give me 1 second. And so what we're going to see here is mode 1. And it doesn't seem to let me get rid of that dialog. So we're going to go current mode is 1. So you can actually select underneath the option tools. And if we want to change the actual modes, we can go up and I'm not sure why it's not letting me select. Oh, there it is, view. Under the view option, you can select the different modes. So mode 1 is going to be the product details mode, which again just lists all of the different modes, all of the different product descriptions, SKU numbers, quantities, and information such as your phases, categories, and usages. You can move and delete products in this view. Mode 2 is the admin mode. And when you select that mode, this lists the basic product details and displays the price controls such as markups, margins, and retail pricing, profits, and tax information. Mode 3 is the project details mode. So this is going to list the SKU numbers and the descriptions of the products, so you can export the data that is listed from here. And then the last mode, which you probably won't use very much, is the manufacturing details. So similar to the min mode with additional fields for manufacturing information. But if you do want to take advantage of that, it is there for you. Quote Generator also gives you the ability to create reports. So once you've manipulated the data in the quote grid to suit your needs, you can instantly view reports based on the data in the quote settings. Reports are going to be displayed in your report windows. There are 3 defined reports available. So if I go up and I select tools, and I select, sorry, not tools. If I select the reports button here, so you'll see the reports button looks like a sheet of paper. If you click on that, it will bring up the reports dialog. The first one we're going to see here is basically the main quote. So this is going to be all of your products and your subtotals per phase. So here we're going to see, based on our phase, we're going to see all of the different elements again that we've added in based on what we've drawn in Envisioneer. The second report is a pull list, and this is usually going to be just internal use. It's going to be used to show the products by their SKUs. And again, it's just going to give you what needs to be pulled for that particular project. And then the last one is an order summary. Now, this is going to be an itemized quote with subtotals and the total price. You probably don't want this to go out to any clients because you're basically giving them a shopping list, so they'll know how much you're charging them, plus the grand total. So this one is again going to be more for an internal use option. And again, the phase option will give them a running list of the actual retail price plus the actual total of everything. When viewing a report, you can filter the selected information from the report and specify how you would like it to group and sort the records. You can also choose to apply taxes if needed. Using the report designer, you can customize the report content, such as the header and footer information, grouping, and sort order of products and the report layout, including the fonts, margins, and spacings. You can also bring in your own company logo. So in the quote generator, we're going to select the files reports, and we've already opened up our report here, and we're going to go up and we're going to select, we're going to close this one down, and then we're going to go up and we're going to select tools, and we're going to select report designer. The report designer, again, lets you customize the report content, the layout, and the appearance. It includes a preview tab so you can see what your report will look like. So in here, we are looking at the highlighted one, which is showing us the phase report. And that phase report is using a couple of different options in here. We're using an actual banner. And under the banner option, it's going to use this image file, which shows me the company logo with the company information off to the right-hand side. We're also going to allow it to include the customer sold to information. So we're going to be able to see who the customer is. We're going to include the display individual records. So we're going to see the records, and then we can further sort it or filter it to use what we want the report footer options to include. So again, we're going to include the retail price as well as the grand total. All of that can again be modified. Under the report layout, we can again choose what we want to show in our actual columns. So I can again use my checklists to include again what I want each of those to be displayed. And I can again adjust not only the fonts themselves, but the size of the font and the style of the font. Under the group sort option, again, just another sorting field to allow you to again adjust how you want these reports to be sorted. And then we have a filters option, which will allow you to again filter certain things out of that specific report. Again, if you only want to show certain items, you can go through here and turn things on or off. Just simply click close on that. And I'm going to talk about the next thing we're going to be looking at is updating the inventory in Quote Generator. So Quote Generator creates a list of all the products that were inserted into the Cadsoft model. A CSV file can be maintained in Excel and imported into Quote Generator, so you have an up-to-date list of inventory which you can include pricing in. To export a CSV file of inventory out of Envisioneer, all you have to do is go up and select. So we're going to close out of here. And we're going to go up and we're going to select File, Catalogs, and we're going to select Element Manager. This should load a little bit quicker because I've done it once already in this class. So it should load a bit quicker. Once it's loaded, we're going to go up and we're going to select the File option. And under File, we're going to see this Export Text file. We're going to click on that. What this will do is it will then bring up the option of saving this particular file. So right now it's going through and it's exporting everything in this catalog out to a file that we're going to define. So again, we're just going to give this a second to load. And it's now allowing me to save this. And I'm going to save this to my desktop. And I'm just going to call this webinar test catalog. And what I want to do here is I want to adjust this so that it saves it as a CSV file. So I'm going to use the drop down and I'm going to select CSV or comma separated values file. I'm then going to simply select save. It'll go through and once it's done, it will say export finished and I can say okay. Just a quick note here. So this is again, you would use this when you export the catalog from Envisioneer. Sorry, just a quick note here. When you export the catalog from Envisioneer, it can't export any of the purchased items from your members. So you will need to add them in separately to that CSV file. What we're also going to do is we're now going to go through and we're going to look at how we can import that file into our quote generator. So once we've created that CSV file, we can click cancel on here. So I don't want to save anything there. In Envisioneer, we're going to start quote generator. So we're going to go back to Tools, Analyze. We're going to select Generate Quote. We're going to say yes to loading it from Envisioneer. We're going to say yes to that. When you are working with adding in a new database, it needs to be a blank project. So to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to left click at the top. We're going to hold our mouse or our shift key down, sorry, and we're going to highlight everything. So start at the top, hold the shift key down, left click again, everything highlights, and then we're going to delete everything out. So we should have a blank report. Once the blank report is set, what we can then do is we can now go up and we can select Tools, Data, and we can say Import Cadsoft Catalog. This will allow me to now choose the catalog that I want to use. And I can say that I want to use the catalog that I set up on my desktop, which was the webinar test catalog.csv file. This file is the file that you would keep and set up to adjust any pricing. So if you're using this for pricing in Quote Generator and you want to show the actual pricing information, you would be loading this up. You can open up that Excel file and edit it at any time. You just need to make sure you're reloading it back into Quote Generator so that it updates those new changes. And you would do this every time that you update that Excel file. You would then simply select Open, and it will now replace the current file with the new database showing all of those new changes. And you'll see a running calculation of what records are being calculated or what records are being edited. I'm not going to do that here because I don't want to mess up my catalog or my database. So I'm just going to click cancel on that. But that's how you would load in a new database. I'm just going to click close on there. And that covers everything that I wanted to talk about in today's class. So I'm just going to go over a quick review. I can see there are a couple of questions already, so we will get to those in just a moment. So the building information modeling technology in Envisioneer makes it possible to generate accurate estimates and quotes that reflect the way you do business. Every element in the catalog has a quantity page and its properties where you can specify quantity information such as price, supplier, and part numbers. You can use assemblies to quantify parts or materials that are associated with an element but are not actually going to be drawn. You can use formulas to accurately quantify your materials in the manner in which you would purchase them. Use the project estimate tool to display a bill of materials instantly at any point in your design process from within Envisioneer. You can apply a variety of templates to your estimates, which are compatible with other software tools. You can add, edit, and delete report templates to suit your needs. Templates determine what type of file is created when you save the estimate, as well as the estimate's content, organization, and layout. And if you're using Envisioneer Construction Suite, you can use the generate quote tool to instantly generate a quote that opens in Quote Generator, which is again an independent application. And in Quote Generator, you can import a product database, manipulate the quote data, generate a variety of reports in different formats, and export the quote to a point of sale system or an accounting program. So I'm going to go up and I'm going to take a look at the questions that we have. The first question is, if I do not check the box for replace with assemblies, will I still get the assemblies included with the door panel? Yes. When you have the replace with assemblies option selected, so again, I'm just going to delete that one out. So again, if I have that option selected, so if I look at the door, I have replaced with assemblies checked here. Because I don't want to see the 2x6 wall in my report, I'm saying remove that from the report and replace it with the assemblies. When I look at a door and I look at the quantities, it's not checked, but it's always going to include it because it's saying include in quantities. That assembly, as long as there is an assembly here, it will always be included because it's a part of this include in quantities option. So yes, don't worry about it being unchecked. Again, it should be unchecked if you want the main element, like a door or a window, to be included in the actual report. But for walls, where again, you don't want the wall itself to be included, you would have that replace assemblies checked. Let me know if that answers your question, and I can revisit that. The next question is, does the quote generator have a spot for labor? Unfortunately, no, it does not have a spot for labor. That is something that would be a project management tool type of application. That's not something that we do or that the quote generator tool would do. So I'm going to pause here for just a moment to see if there's any other questions. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the class, I will be sending out an email that's going to contain a document that covers everything that we've talked about today. So if you do happen to have any questions while going over that document, you can contact our support department. They'll be happy to help you out with any questions you may have. I'm just going to pause for just another moment just to see if anybody has any other questions that they're just finishing up or any follow-up questions. All right, perfect. Well, there doesn't appear to be any other questions, so I do want to thank everybody for attending today. I do look forward to speaking with you all again very soon. Thank you very much, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day.